Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the World Championship Series Europe Premier League here for our last day of week number 2.
That's right, and we have 32 of the best players from the Europe region fighting it out over 8 weeks. And we're in the second week, of course, fighting for their share of $131,000 and, of course, their share of WCS points to kickstart their campaign for 2014.
Let's take a broader look at what's happened so far here in WCS Europe, as we've already had 5 groups conclude, Sean, but now we're moving on to the 6th.
That's right. 10 players have made their way through to the round of 16 already, and we've also said goodbye to 10 players, as you can see on screen. 3 groups remaining, 6 more players to go out, but also 6 more players to go through. We have today's broadcast, and of course 2 more days next week on Tuesday and Thursday to finish up the round of 32.
It's looking good. It's looking good so far. We've got 5 Protoss, 3 Terrans, 2 Zergs. Let's round that out a little bit further as we now move on to today's group with Genius, TLO, Grubby, and Cass. And why don't we start off with our first player here, who's a particularly inventive Protoss veteran in the grand scheme of StarCraft 2, playing for Love Your Girlfriend. It's Genius.
That's right. This is the original BlizzCon champion of 2011. And this guy is one of the most consistent Protoss players that we ever saw in Codes, achieving it 10 times. That's a lot over the years. And of course, he's made his way to the Europe Premier League, where he tried to qualify for Korean Season 1 last year in 2013. Couldn't do so. Made the switch for Season 2, where he got Challenger, then straight to Premier League for Season 3. And what a performance in Season 3. We saw a top 4 finish for him. He represented the Europe region in Canada at the Season 3 finals, but we haven't seen him actually play since then.
Yeah.
And he will be playing from Korea today. So what's his shape like, and how well will he perform against Europe's finest?
Then we have a man who, against all odds, did well in Brazil, had a fantastic start to his 2014. Can he do that today? It's TLO.
As you said, did well in Brazil and has kicked off his year brilliantly. Already ranked 13. He's in the top 16 running for the global finals already. Last year, he finished 26th. The 3rd highest placing non-Korean behind Naniwal, who actually made it to the global finals, and then Scarlet, who wasn't too far behind either. TLO started well so far, but remember, last year in the Premier Leagues, he only did well in 1 season. In the first season where he got top 5 and gained a lot of points is Season 2 and Season 3 finished in the round of 32 each time. Today is the day where hopefully we see the German player continue his form and continue on to the round of 16.
Then we have our 3rd player here in the form of an esports legend who, after doing very well during Season 2, well, last year, we'll see what he's going to do. It's Grubby.
He's a massive fan favorite coming into this one. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Grubby. I think he's loved by everybody in the scene. But of course, as you said, didn't do that well within the Premier League last seasons, or at least the other 3. And then we have in Season 2, I think it was, he did very, very well, but we'll see how well he'll perform today.
And then finally, we have the Destroyer of Worlds. Today's Terran, and looking to impress after being off the radar for quite a while, it's Cass.
Yeah, this guy has not got a top 8 performance yet in Heart of the Swarm, which is kind of crazy to think about it. This guy's meant to represent Terran in Europe. Him and Happy, hand in hand, are the top 2 Terran players in Europe. Today, he has to really show us how hardworking he actually is and prove to us that he is that Terran player he's meant to be.
All right, well, that wraps it up for our players here in today's group. Let's check out exactly how things are going to unfold with, as always, the format.
All right, everybody, hands out, walk with me across the road once again. At the top of the upper bracket, we have our first game of the evening, and it will be the Korean Genius going up against Cass. And then the second game, Grubby versus TLO. I'm looking forward to both of these games. Winners will play against each other in the upper bracket final, and then the winner of that will go through in first place into the round of 16. The losers of the original matches will go down to the lower bracket, face off against each other. The winner of that will play the loser of the upper bracket winner final, and will go through in second place.
And this first game that we're starting things off with today really interests me in terms of how Cass's form truly is. I mean, you mentioned that Genius, we haven't seen him since that Season 3 final, but Cass, we haven't really seen a whole lot of him at all for a big portion of time. So I'm very curious to see how Cass is going to do here.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's going to approach this series like any Terran would against any Protoss player, would be very reactionary, try to find out what the Protoss player is up to. And this, more so than ever against Genius, who is very well known for his aggressive play. And if he's playing from Korea, we know that the longer the game gets, the harder it will become for Genius. So I'm expecting either a Cannon, a Void Ray, Proxy Gateways Kalaris, maybe
like
an
those
Oracle.
Void Rays.
So any type of that play we should see from Genius. Cass just needs to be on top of it. He needs to spot it what it is, deal with it, and I'm sure he'll find himself in good shape.
I'd be surprised if we didn't see at least one attempt of aggression, like really aggressive play from Genius, who, as you mentioned, playing from Korea, but that's kind of just his style. That's just what he does. And it's a lot of fun to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, he's very good at executing these type of plays. Even when he made it to the round of 16 in Season 3, he was performing these type of styles, but from 2 or 3 bases, but very well executed, and was able to walk through the majority of players until he faced off against MC, where MC was like, all right, bro, you've beaten up the European scene, but now meet the boss toss, and then cleared him up in the semi-final. But he got himself a very high finish, which actually pushed him to being able to automatically qualify for Season 1 here in 2014. And if he can escape the round of 32, I'm pretty sure he'll be looking to do the same in the round of 16 above again.
I'm looking to have fun here. We've had a lot of fun over the past couple of groups for WCS Europe, but now we can jump right into game number 1 for today, as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, our red Protoss representing Love Your Girlfriend. It is Genius.
He's a ladies' man.
Seemingly so. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Destroyer of Worlds representing Team Empire. It is Cass.
These two players have never played against each other before in any online or offline event, but I'm quite sure that Cass is going to be well prepared for Genius and how Genius could potentially play. I don't think he's going to know specifically what Genius is going to do, but I think we all know that Genius is going to attempt something throughout these games today.
Yeah, there certainly has to be something coming along here from Genius. Meanwhile, though, still very curious to see what Cass is going to do. Normally, Cass is the true tried and tested build order machine, very similar to Happy that we actually saw playing out before. Now, I would say Cass is a little bit less predictable than Happy, but not by a whole lot. He's still up there.
Yeah, definitely. So we should be seeing, you know, whether it be Command Center first, Reaper expand, 1 Barracks expansion. These are the 3 builds that Cass will be leaning towards, depending on how he wants to play this out. But on a big map like Frost, it's very common to see Command Center first here. And even though, to a lot of people, that's saying, whoa, you know, do you need to do this against a player who's going to be playing kind of aggressive? On a map like this, you can get away with it. And also, more importantly, you can defend against the majority of things if you know your timings well, which I'm sure Cass does. But remember, you don't need to be aggressive to be a cheesy player. What did we see Bling do against Happy just the other day?
Yeah, exactly. Super economical cheese, in inverted commas, one would call it. Just getting away with that and not having your opponent scout it out at the right particular time or quickly enough can be very brutal to deal with. So Cass is just going to have to be on top of everything, be it his scouting of alternate bases or his scouting in his opponent's main, different proxy pylon locations even. Genius, he's the full package. You can bring anything to the table.
Do you think we'll see the Destroyer of Worlds today? Because it's been a long time since we've seen that guy come out.
Yeah. He said he was very nervous on Twitter, if I recall. So, I mean, this is the biggest stage we've seen Cass on for quite a while. So I don't know. I'm skeptical. We'll see.
Yeah, he played in the round of 32 twice last year, but didn't make it past that once, which is very surprising for a player of his caliber. And he absolutely should be representing the Terran scene in Europe. This is a guy that should be. Everyone should be watching him today, saying, "All right, how do I beat this guy? How do I, beat Genius, Grubby, Tealo? What is Cass doing? How do I beat Protoss and Zerg?" Well, we'll find out, hopefully. But he has opened up with a very generic opening. Nothing too weird after his Command Center first. It's Command Center, double barracks. We'll be looking most likely for a 3rd barracks, or he could add on the gases first, depending on how he wants to play it out. More units or faster tech. And he has opted for the faster tech here. But Genius has gone so far normal. 1 gateway expansion, taking the 2nd gas right after that expansion. And is hiding a probe down here. And this will not be spotted. So is this going to be a location for a proxy pylon? Or are we going to see A Twilight Council come down there? We're going to see a Stargate. What does he have planned with this probe?
Well, he was very avid about keeping it hidden, even on the route to that position, as he did go all the way around the right-hand side. But meanwhile, Cass is also trying to check out these locations, because he knows his opponent. He knows that there could be potentially something crazy going on, so he's going to try and scout out some alternate routes around this map.
Well, with a robotics facility coming in, he doesn't really have enough gas to do anything impactful in this game. And imagine if Cass was to scan the main base, he'd also see the robo. So I really don't think that this is going to be any form of tech. Could it be potentially for a Nexus quite fast in this game? Could he be looking to throw down a third Nexus in the bottom right? Obviously, he's got something planned. He hasn't scouted his opponent, and he just hit the probe down there.
Yeah.
Not too sure what that is. Cass, by the way, who has had to throw down the engineering base. Of course, he got no information with that scouting SCV. Is moving his Marines inside the main base in case of an Oracle was to pop in. And I'm sure we'll see turrets being made too.
This is economical cheese, my friend. Economical cheese. Here we go. Another Nexus down to this bottom right-hand corner here for Genius.
Yeah.
And from that point on, again, he still doesn't know where his opponent is, but it doesn't really matter at this point, as he's just... Genius is playing his own game, looking to try and take the advantage quick.
Yeah, this is a very, very fast third. And remember the thought process and the way that Cass will be approaching this series. Defensively set up to not take damage versus anything Genius could potentially throw at him. So we've got the bunker down, we've got a turret on the natural, we've got the Marine set inside the main base here. But what will start to happen now as we approach the 7-minute compass mark, Cass is going to start to say, well, he's not going for an Oracle because it would have already hit by now. And he's not gone for DTs because I've got a turret on the natural. Are we going to see a normal game? And we could see a scan inside the main base, which would reveal the robotics facility in forward shortly. But Cass has got Marines patrolling outside his base in case we were to see a pylon or a gateway attack. And he's going to actually start to just go down a regular pathway now. He's going to get his medevacs. He's going to start to move out when Statement +1 attack is done.
And we must remember that all this for Genius is off one gateway. So a lot of Protoss right now are feeling super comfortable to even just do what Genius is doing right now and realize that there's probably not a whole lot of threat because Terrans are not really pushing out. They know Photon Overcharge is always available to the Protoss. And this is making Genius feel very, very comfortable right now. Once he adds on extra gateways, he's going to be absolutely flying.
And Cass has now realized that, okay, I'm not going to get hit by a 2-base attack. He throws down his third command center and even has a Marine to scout the north third base location if it was to have been down early, like we saw from Bring earlier. So he's now going to see that. Cass is, I imagine the thing that's going to go through Cass's head, he's seen the robotics facility now through the observer. He'd be like, all right, time to contain the Protoss, baby. Time to move out and keep him on 2-base. Because that's what every Terran American kind of player Marine sounds like. And that is going to be the worst thing possible for his game, because he will want to keep his opponent pinned back without realizing that there's this third base down there which can fuel gas, which actually isn't being used that much right now, which is very surprising. But of course, he's going to be able to fuel a much larger income through having that Nexus down there.
Yeah, he is. Once he gets all those probes fully flying, and there we go, there's the Corona boost into it. It's very important that he does do that. But it's also important that, you can't realistically transfer probes over to that location because they may get spotted for one reason or another. So he's just having to Corona boost that Nexus out.
It seemed like he wanted not to build the probes too early, but to make sure it had enough gateways out to actually be defensive and defensively set up against Cass's usual push out here with +1 attack, with medivacs. And we'll see how this is going to shape up now and how long, Cass will sit back and be maybe smiling in his own little way, thinking that he's in a good position, which obviously, as we all know, can get worse and worse and worse from this point.
And now Cass just sends one of the medevacs forwards and has a look around, sees that Colossus is already out, so he's going to be a little bit more mindful about how he pushes forwards. Behind this, he's getting his second engineering bay, he's getting his armory, lining up those upgrades nicely. But from there on out, he's still being a little bit fooled.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going into attack because, as any good Terran player knows, playing against a good Protoss player, good luck trying to harass him on 2 bases. It's when he starts to spread himself thin over 3 is when you're going to find weaknesses. Because if you look at how defensively Genius is set up, cannons inside the main base, units already waiting, cannon on the natural, there's no way he's going to take damage. But now, with faking out, or faking with a third, but actually looking to take a fourth here, this is when Cass will start to get some damage done.
And it's becoming progressively more and more annoying here for Cass, because the incomes, he thinks he is flying ahead, but realistically he is not. He's got to be so careful about this. He needs to find advantages somewhere, otherwise he could get run over.
Yeah, and he sees a pylon there and a probe, and this absolutely, I promise you, looks like he's trying to take a third base. But it's not the case. So this is going to be obviously quite bad for Cass the longer the game goes on, because the more money Genius will have, the more money he can throw to Double Forge while keeping up his high Templar production, which we should start to see soon, and Storm. This is hard to read into for Cass, for sure.
Oh, picks everything up and evacuates on out of there. Not going into the main, a little bit too cautious to try that, because he still knows his opponent's, well, on inverted commas, 2 base, so doesn't want to try and risk anything like that. But there's so many gateways that have gone down. He's up to around 10 or 11 right now. Actually, no, just 10. There weren't any at the natural. So that's quite a lot of production that we're going to see here from Genius, which is going to hit a whole lot harder than Cass ever expected it to.
I mean, if you just ignore the bottom right-hand side, Cass would be in good shape, which is what he's thinking as well. He's adding on his Ghost Academy as his opponent takes his third to get the Ghost ready to fight the High Templar, yada, 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 yada. But the problem is, his opponent's army's going to be more upgraded and also going to be larger in size through having this hidden third base. And the reinforcement capability is going to be stronger and stronger and stronger as he adds on more gateway. So now we're really seeing the benefits of that hidden base, which, like I mentioned, Cass has got a bit of a false sense of security here. So he's going to move out eventually for some sort of timing soon with his Vikings, his Ghost production. He'll take a fight, but then he'll start to wonder, why does he have so much? How does he have these upgrades? Why is he reinforcing so powerful? And that's when it will click for the first time.
Yeah, it absolutely has to. It has to soon, that's for sure. I mean, he's getting cloak out now for his ghosts. That's always the advantage now that they do start with Mobius Reactor already. And there's just a few Marines on the rally down to the bottom right-hand corner. If he sent, like, a drop or something around the perimeters of the map, and maybe he would spot it eventually, because right now it's not protected. There's not even a pylon there to reinforce. Oh, there is one on this left-hand side, but still.
Yeah, Cass he's got no idea, and he probably won't even check there. Probably won't even check there.
He may. Oh, no. Okay, it was rallied around there with the Marines because he saw the probe come out. So, yeah, he's rallied up there.
He is going to check there now, but this is only to check for pylons.
Yeah.
He's not looking for a base there, but to be honest, I think it's almost too late. The impact of that base has definitely paid its worth now. Yeah,
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if we click on the mineral patches, he's already mined like 1,000 or so. Sorry. 500-ish from each of those. So that's very nice.
Look at all the Archons that he's thrown in. He didn't get Storm. He's just thrown it into a massive army. Now Cass sees it, and he's got to be like, no, you cheeky little man. And all of a sudden, Genius is like, well, I don't care.
My army's big enough.
Bro.
Hey, this is certainly a very strong army. Oh, but everything gets absolutely blanketed by EMPs. That's the best way that Cass could actually fight this. All of the Zealots were caught at the back whilst all those EMPs hit, but the upgrades here for the Zealots are still pretty good. They're still powering through. There's not enough AoE, though, so Cass should be able to hold on against this just barely.
That was a terrible fight by Genius. An absolutely terrible fight.
But it still works. Look at all these Zealots that still rally on through.
The reinforcements of that, of having this much money. That was an absolutely disgustingly bad fight, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
He had way too much power, way too many resources, and Genius has said, all right, Cass, fooled you once, man. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, that was actually brutal to watch. All of the Zealots got absolutely blanketed by the EMPs, but they just didn't fall. They have 3 armor against the Bioforce here that only has the +2 weapons, so it's not really doing the damage it needs to and breaking through it. Look at these Zealots. They're just not dying.
They're not dying, and there's more and more units streaming through. Cass is as dead as a doorknob in this game, and unfortunately, through lack of information of that bottom base, Genius was able to power up too strong.
Yeah.
This is a very difficult situation for Cass to be in. And now Genius is hitting the economy lines. He knows that maybe somehow he could start to win a fight, but if he starts to stop the income, then Cass can't even rebuild anything.
Zealots absolutely everywhere off all of this powerful gateway reinforcement. It's just too much to handle. He even sent 2 medevacs over to that right-hand corner to kill that off. GG. But all of these units were just out of position at the right time for Genius, who would power it up, got maxed out, and good to go.
And Genius, just like in Season 3 in the round of 32, playing from Korea, finds himself a way to get a victory. Remember back then, he was able to beat Grubby and Lucifron, 2 of Europe's finest back then as well. So there's definitely no doubt in my mind he can challenge these players today, and we've already seen that in game number 1.
The thing is, though, is that kind of play, that kind of sneaky third base, it's not going to work again, because not only was that on the biggest map that they have available to them, Ultrazeme Stronghold is not in the map, but that was vetoed out instantly by Cass. So we're going to be going to a smaller map now, and we're going to have to see what Genius is going to bring to the table in that scenario.
All right, well, Habitation Station would play out in a more normal-ish style for Cass here, which is a bit of a comfort map for sure going into this one. He knows that Blink is less viable. He knows that if he is able to scout well, he can stop gateway attacks. And if he has his turret timing, he can stop DTs. And if he has his Marine Pusher, he can stop Oracle. So there's a lot of things he has to think about. But this, I would definitely imagine he'd be favoring this one because, of course, as a third base on this map, absolutely Cass can take the gold, whereas Genius not so much. It's so, you know, this is a good setup, I think, for him to maybe challenge for this series.
Yeah. Everything in that first game, unfortunately, for Cass just really scouting that base out at just almost exactly the wrong time of all times, having to actually send those units over there to be like, right, I'm going to kill this off, ha ha ha. But then that huge wave hit, and the engagement was terrible by Genius.
Absolutely disgustingly bad.
It's just really, really bad, but it doesn't matter.
The Colossus were like that. The Zealots and Archons got EMP'd. They were like that. They were gone, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
That was... imagine if he did take a proper fight.
God.
Imagine how one-sided that would have been.
All the Zealots just swinging in an open area.
Yeah. It's just because he had too much of a powered-up economy. It didn't matter about the fight. It was actually a war of money more than anything there.
It's actually funny. It's really funny how bad that fight was. But there you go. Let's jump into game number 2. I think maybe we will be regaming. There's 1 or 2 casters that have dropped there from our alternate regions. So we'll find out in just a second. As
I can talk. It depends because I'm not sure if we do need these people or not.
That's true. And also our admin has left. So
yeah, I'll ask.
We'll find out in just a second for you guys here.
Hold on.
But as I say, I think that in the end, this is a great map for Cass to come back on because, well, technically, actually, Genius could hide a base down to the south, but it's far easier for Cass to scout out if he just gets 1 Marine, sends it around in circles.
Okay, admin said go, so.
Okay.
All right, whatever, we can oh, okay. Wait, Happy's left now as well.
Why is Happy even?
Well, I guess Happy's like with somebody who's maybe commentating, and he's like, well, I guess I can't go in here.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we're back in the game now. We are good to go as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner our blue Terran representing Team Empire. It is Cass. I almost said Happy. And up to the top left, we have our red Protoss. It is Love Your Girlfriend Genius.
Does he love his girlfriend? Does he have a girlfriend?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not going to get bored of saying this name. I'll be honest.
And for how long will you say it?
Yeah.
This is a big question right now.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so what do you think Genius can do here against Cass? If he can't take a fast third base, and it's easier for Cass to play against the other types of builds that Protoss have, do you think Genius does play a long game anyway?
I think he randomly does Dark Templars.
Yeah?
He's 1 game up. He just randomly does something.
Okay.
Although, I think that if he's going to play like a charge lot style, I think it's not as difficult to have to deal with latency issues from Korea because, you know, charge lots, you up them in, they charge to their destination, and then they start whacking away at things. So maybe we'll see, you know, just an attempt at a macro game come out from Genius, and he just plays a more, you know, a very, very heavy Zealot style like we saw him just play there before. Could work.
1 barracks expansion here. I'm not going to play to the 4-player map here with the command center first. It's just going to go 1 barracks. There is some builds out there. Doesn't happen very often, but you can still take the gas around 15 supply and play for a faster factory, but still a decently timed command center. That is a build, but it looks like it is just the regular 1 barracks command center. And I would be expecting Genius to play all of his games here masked. And I mean that by 1 gateway expansion, second gas every single time, so Cass can't read into it, then make a choice after that. Because that's the best way to play it. For example, if he takes 2 gases right now, Cass is like, all right, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Whereas if he takes 1 gas like this and then expands, then takes the gas afterwards, it's much more difficult for Cass to read into it. He can't look at the gas timing to predict what his opponent's doing.
And that's exactly why Cass is heading over there very quickly, so that he can see if his opponent is doing anything a little bit crazy. And he's going to see 1 gas and being like, all right then.
Even a Marine looking around, just in case, went down right south to see if there's any gateways down or anything, just super, super cautious. And he went in there, saw the gateway, saw the one gas, and that's a happy SCV.
Yeah, certainly is.
Pokes in again. He's going to see if the second gas is added on. Exactly. And he catches that just as... Well, I think he would have saw the probe moving down.
I think so.
Catches that right at the end there, which, as a Terran player, you know that's a part of the build at this point. But look at Cass. Against a player that we all know is probably going to try something. He's going 3 command centers here, risking it himself. And maybe it's because he feels comfortable against the majority of builds that that Genius could do on this map. This is risky from Cass, absolutely.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of gas coming in now from Genius, so where is he going to spend it is the big question. He already has his Mothership core out for the defense, and that's going to be starting to accrue energy.
And it's just a robo.
Okay, so normal.
Just a robo. As every Terran player, if you had map pack, you go, whew, just a robo.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be the Stargate or Twilight Council, especially when you set up like Cass is right now, because the robotics facility does not offer anything aggressive early. It does offer a warp prism. What are you going to put in there? You're a stalker that you're about to build. You cancel the zealot, so there's nothing to go in there fast. And it could be an immortal, timing of 2 bases.
It's a few months ago, though, right?
But that's not as strong, especially on a map like this, where you're very funneled to attack up the natural ramp there. So it's very easy, or much easier for the Terran player to defend.
Wow.
Yeah, Cass doesn't know exactly what his opponent's doing, so you might as well build a second bunker if you got 3 command centers at this point.
You're just powering up that economy. May as well be well defended. That Stalker might end up poking over there, and if he does see a second bunker, he'll be like, oh, okay then. Well, that's quite interesting. You think I'm going to be this aggressive. RoboBay goes down pretty darn fast, though, here.
This definitely could be a 2-base Colossus push.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty fast. That's before a Forge, before any upgrades.
Exactly. The no Forge is a big standout here. Like, why is he not focusing on upgrades? What is he going to do from there? It looks like it might be that straight push forwards here against Cass.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be, but definitely could be if we're looking at that's the only thing aggressive that he could do with the robotics bait is like a 2-base push. But meanwhile, Cass set very comfortably on a decent income with 3 sets of mules, starts his stim, starts an engineering bay, and we can safely say he's got on the way with his greedy opening, and this will pay off quite nicely for him.
Let's have a look where this probe's going. Okay, so he's going right down to the bottom here to throw down a pylon. And then we have those 2 gateways just being added on as well here for Genius. So
yeah, look at that. He actually Chronos and put it to the side a little bit. So he's definitely looking most likely here to go for that attack. With no forges, we'll see the probe count stop soon because he's actually very comfortable on 2-base probes right now with the last 2 that will pop out. When he stops probe production, that'll give him enough money, I would imagine, to add on more gateways. And then he'll probably just start to increase his stalker count after that.
And because of the opening that we're seeing from Cass, this could sting. This could sting him because his factory is delayed because of the mineral sink that we saw into the orbital command before the 2 gases went down. It's the starport is going to be delayed because of that.
And as if Genius wasn't going for it already, upon seeing the 3rd command center with his observer, I'm pretty sure we're going to go for it now.
Exactly. 3 extra gateways have been added on. Still no attempts at scans or anything like that from Cass, who is pretty much in the dark.
Yeah, he's built a Reaper, though, which is something we don't see that often.
Oh, that's good.
But he's added a Reaper to have a look around. He's gonna, if he pops up to the natural here, he would catch the robotics bay, but if he's willing to jump up there or not.
Keeping an eye on the 3rd base. He's probably going to go over to the gold as well before he actually jumps up, because he just wants to keep an eye on 3rds, I guess. But that pylon down to the south is already positioned. These gateways are about to finish, and there's going to be a second Colossus out with thermal lance before the starport even finishes.
I would imagine you'd go with 3 Colossus. Is the biggest power punch you can get. Going with 2 is faster, of course, but less deadly.
Oh no!
4 sentries and a stalker.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it definitely could be weird, but I don't think he's going to read into that much.
He might assume it's
he
just
scans the natural, doesn't see anything, so that's like a wasted scan. The only thing he could pick up on is the gases were taken quite early, and also Genius he hasn't got his army there, so that's another thing that could start to scare Cass. But he moves out.
He just has nothing to deal with
all these force field collars. If he's out in the open,
he's actually just going to get ripped to shreds.
And Genius sees this. He sees his opponent's army out in the open. With the force fields and the Colossus, we could be looking at the army just being destroyed, and then there's no backup.
Especially if he actually right now, because this army is way out of position.
All right.
This could be devastating.
He's going to grab this army. He can force field the ramp. There's no way this army's going to retreat. There's no medivacs out.
Oh, geez.
He's going to grab this army, Kalaris.
Oh, this could be brutal. He already takes a big volley
he
there.
steps out of it, though, luckily, but still.
Not too bad, but now he has a whole lot of troubles ahead of him because these Colossi are going uncontested. There's no Vikings in the sky. The SCVs come off the line. He knows he's in a lot of trouble. The Bio somehow needs to close the gap with these Colossi, and then the Gateway units are falling quite rapidly, but if he just reinforces with a few more Zealots, there's going to be nothing Cass can do.
2 Colossus, 3 Colossus. He's just outsmarted Cass in both games here.
GG.
Well played, Genius. Really well played.
Yeah.
If you think about the circumstances that he has to play through and knows that he can't play a longer game, but he's playing a lot of mind games here. And just like we saw in Season 3 when he escaped the round of 32, he's doing it again today.
Yeah, it's so important to have the information about what your opponent is going to be doing, because something as minor as a Forge not being there in place really gives us the read onto what his opponent's going to do 6 or 7 minutes down the line. And that hits furiously if you do not have your right positions to take the fight. And
just like we expected to see from Genius, executing builds perfectly and then just putting the nail in the coffin. Why do you need to have super good micro when you just outsmart and also execute excellently? So that was a brilliant start from Genius here in Group F.
Yeah, he goes on to the winner's match, and now we're going to find out who his opponent is after the break. It's going to be either Liquid TLO or Grubby. Join us after the break.